Hello again, everybody. Today we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at just a basic UI element in Unity, and that is the button. We're going to look at how to add a button to your UI, to your screen, and how to go ahead and add some functionality to that button, such as being able to click that button and some kind of action happening. And we're actually going to do two different ways you can do that. One, just triggering some other function that prints information to the console, and another one being changing some other UI element on screen. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Um, First thing we're going to do here is we are going to create a new 2D object, or sorry, not UI, a new UI object. We're going to create a button. Some of you may see the text Mesh Pro option. For now, we're just going to use a basic Unity button, okay? And we're going to just leave it right now named as button. Um, Now, the thing I want to point out here is when you add a UI element to Unity, you'll notice that it creates a canvas object, and it sticks that element on the canvas. It also creates an event system, okay, as part of the canvas. So, or sorry, not as part of the canvas, but just alongside the canvas. Now, first to say an event system is required, because without the event system, um, UI events, things like clicking on a button and all that, will not be recognized. Okay? So this automatically created object, you need it. Now the canvas, you'll see here, is much larger than what my camera was when I first started. When I first opened Unity, here was my camera, okay? And then when I created the canvas, it created this much larger object. Now, the explanation behind this varies depending on where you look, but basically, when you create a canvas in Unity, it creates it to the same default size as the camera would be. So if I created 1920 by 1080, that was my camera by default for my monitor, uh, and then I went ahead and I created a canvas, it creates that canvas at 1920 by 1080. Okay? Or in this case, it's doing what my base camera is, which is 640 by 480. You know? um, so if I'm zoomed in here and looking at my game, okay, based upon how it's looking at world space, it's going to go ahead and create the canvas at actual world space, which means when I first created it, it was a full 640 by 480. As I start to scroll out, obviously it's smaller. It's a percentage of what it actually is going to render as. That's just how Unity does it. If I zoom all the way back in on my camera, okay, and I run my game, you'll see nothing because it went ahead and moved the button. That was kind of weird. Well, let's go ahead and let's take that button, okay, and we're going to move it. So now it's within the camera. If I run this, even though my camera is way down there, okay, you'll see it's up here in the canvas. It scales the canvas to the camera. Things like how you just saw the camera size suddenly jump when I clicked on or the canvas size changed when I clicked on the camera and things moved around. That it's not entirely unheard of when working with Canvas. Canvas is kind of finicky, especially if you've never used it before, and when you first create it and start working with it. You just have to go ahead and check and make sure that things are lining up where they need to be based upon what Unity expects from you. Now I'm going to go ahead and within looking at Canvas, again my camera's down here, Unity's up here. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to move this so that my button's in the middle of my screen. So it automatically wants to show me some grids and snap. Depending on the version of Unity you have, this might look a little different, but you should get it to want to eventually snap when you move it to the center here. Okay? Now, before we go ahead and get to some actual code, one other thing to note here is in the hierarchy. If you expand the button also has text. So text is another UI object in Unity. A button is an object, and it has a text object attached to it. And you can see that because there's the text object, okay? And here is the text component of that object, and there's the word button. And if I change that to click me with an exclamation, you'll see that it changed the text of the button, okay, in the game. So that's just something to be aware of. The actual text of a button is not part of the button. It is part of a text object attached to the button. Now, let's go ahead and if we're looking right here at our um, button, you scroll all the way down to the bottom button, you're going to see that there is an on-click event. All buttons by default have an on-click event that they can recognize. They understand when you click on them that stuff should happen. Okay? If you were to click this little plus sign here saying, hey, we want to add an event to the on-click, change it from runtime only to editor and runtime. If it was runtime only, it would only happen when the game was built and running. By editor, it allows you to go ahead and test it in the editor. I don't know why the default isn't editor and runtime. That makes more sense to me. Object. Now, in order to go ahead and get functionality attached here, we have to go ahead and give it an object that has something like a script attached to it. There's a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this in a way that keeps everything very separated because I want you to go ahead and be able to see this very clearly. So over here in my hierarchy, I'm going to create a new empty object. And I'm going to call it events manager. Okay? And then I'm going to add a component and I'm going to add a new script. And I will likewise call it events manager script. Give that a second. All right. Now let's go ahead and let's open that script. Now, the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do here is point out that I'm going to be adding to this file events that I want to happen when other events are triggered, such as a button click. That means that I probably don't need my start and update functions. These are totally optional. They still are running, they exist, they are part of the base monoBehavior class, and you get to extend them and create your own in your uh, subclass here. Okay? That is extending monoBehavior. But you don't need to actually have them written, especially if they're not doing anything for you. Now let's go ahead and we're going to create a public function because we need this function to be exposed outside of the events manager script. We need other classes and that to be able to look at events manager objects and say, oh hey, you have a function that is publicly available. I can see that. I can access it and do stuff with it. So public, we'll say uh, message console. Okay. We're just going to say, hey, we want to, we got to go ahead and include our data type here, void. This function isn't going to return anything. It's just going to go ahead and do something within itself. Okay? So it's a public void message console. Okay? And we just want to put to the console, I was clicked. Okay? Let's go ahead and save this. And let's go back to Unity. Now, select once again the button. And you're going to see here, hey, when we click it, we want something to happen. So, with the button still selected, click and drag. Don't let go of your mouse. Okay? Click and drag the Events Manager from the hierarchy over here and drop it on the object input for the onClick function. Once again, with button selected, click and drag the Events Manager here on the onClick function in the inspector, okay, for the button, where it's looking for you to input an object, drop it there. Now, when I extend no function, it's going to give me, here are all of the functions that are tied to the events manager object. Now there are things tied to what it is, which is a game object. There are things tied to its actual position, and then there are things tied to the script that is attached to events manager. If I mouse over that, I'll see that somewhere down here is message console. If I click message console, okay, it's now going to call every time you click this button the message console function. I'll show you that in action. Go ahead and click play. Click me. And it went ahead and printed it once to the console. If I click it again, you'll see that counter tick up. I can uncollapse these so you can see how each one is appearing every single time I click. Okay. Keeps adding new ones to the console every time I click the button. So that right there gives you a basic button and how to attach some basic functionality to it. Okay. Now, let's say that I want to change some text on the button when I go ahead and click it. Okay? Or better yet, let's say I want to go ahead and change some text on the screen. Let's go ahead and do right click in the hierarchy and go to UI and choose text. Okay? Now, that text is going to be pretty small, so let's go ahead and let's expand this so it's much bigger. Okay? Get it to snap into the center. And we're going to change the font size to 32. Let's try that. And we can go bigger. Let's go 48. Okay? And then we're going to go ahead and change its alignment in the inspector to center, center vertical, center horizontal. Okay? And we're going to tell it go ahead and wrap. Now, we want it to say, once you click the button clicked. Good. If we type that in here in the text field, we can see it fits. Now let's go ahead and let's empty it. So now our text field is totally blank. Okay? If I run the game, the text field right now is empty. If I click the button, nothing happens up here. It still prints to the console. I was clicked. Okay, good. So that's what we expect. Now, we're going to go ahead and go to the event manager, yeah, so you can see it. We're going to go into the code and we're going to create a public text header variable. Now, you notice it goes ahead and it says like I don't know what text is. Okay? You can click here on this little light bulb. It's going to say, hey, I think you're trying to do something with the Unity engine.ui. Yeah, if I check the little light bulb, like, you know what, I am. And it's suggesting, hey, maybe you want to add the using statement using unity.ui or using Unity engine.ui. If I click it, it goes ahead and adds the using statement for me. And now the text field works just fine. It's like, okay, I know, you want to do a text variable. Now I'm making it public. Let's go ahead and save this, go back to Unity, and you'll see now, once Events Manager recompiles, hey, it's like, hey, I need a text object right here. I have a variable called text header, and I need an object. Well, let's go ahead and take our text, change this to call it text header. Click on Events Manager so we can see the variable, and from the hierarchy, drag the text header to the input field. Again, just like we did when attaching Events Manager to the button, we do this. Okay. Now if you go back to your code, we're going to say, hey, when you go ahead and rather than printing to the console, I want you to go ahead and text header dot text equals button clicked. So I'm going to say go get the text header variable, okay, get the associated text header object that you've attached here, and look at its text field, which would be, if I look at text header, go down here to the text field, right now it's blank, and when you go ahead and click the button, call the message console function, which, yes, I know my naming is now terrible, it makes no sense, but you get the idea here, that I want it to update the text header dot text to equal button clicked. If you go ahead and run your game, click, button clicked. There you go. Okay. If I keep clicking it, nothing happens because I only told it to assign the text once it clicked the button. But you can see right there, adding a basic just here's the UI, here's how I add a button, here's how I add a text field, here's how I can add some click functionality to the button. Okay? And you can see that Unity provides a lot of that code right out of the box. This is all the code we had to write. Okay? But it allows you to see how to create a publicly accessible function, how to create a, once again, a public variable that you can go ahead and assign within Unity, and it also shows you how to modify the existing text of a text field in Unity, okay? And how to go ahead and make use of that handy little feature from Visual Studio, which allows you to identify, hey, I think you want to do something. Let me go ahead and help you out here.